get an approval of the agenda?
Approval.
I got an approval and a second. Any questions from the dais? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Can I get an approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
I got an approval and a second. Any questions from the dais? Any questions from the public? All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. We will have public hearing ordinances tonight. This will be quasi-judicial, so we will, we'll get started. We are entering a quasi-judicial procedure. This means that the commission will stop being a legislative body and will become a judicial board, which means that we have to follow certain rules and adhere to different standards of decision-making. The primary rule we must follow concerns the testimony. The substantial and competent evidence standard must be met when the judicial board makes a decision. This standard states the following. All public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. The giving of the opinion testimony is limited to experts. Closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of the record. I'm going to ask the city attorney to read into the record the ordinance or resolution by title and number. Mr. Attorney, will you read in the number 2?
Yes, sir. This is a resolution 2022-54 SDP 22-08, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, serving as the Board of Adjustment of the City of Newberry, Florida, approving an application for site and development plan approval for the construction of an approximately 942 square foot drive-through cafe building and related site development in a commercial intensive CI zoning district pursuant to section 14.12 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, located at 24717 West Newberry Road, parcel numbers 01951-001-000 and 01951-004-000 on approximately 1.26 acres within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, repealing all resolutions in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass resolution number 2022-54 upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Sir.
At this point, I'm going to ask the city clerk to swear in all the applicants, staff, and participants.
Do you hear, please state your name for the record.
John
Sir.
Paul Perez.
Brian Dobbins. Chris Cox.
Do you hereby swear or from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You having duty sworn.
Before we begin, we need to disclose any ex parte. Commissioner Maydon? Commissioner Martin? Commissioner Farnsworth? No. Myself, none. Commissioner Coleman?
None.
I'll explain the order of the presentation we'll follow for every quasi-judicial item before us tonight, and we have 2. Be a staff overview, applicant present application, no time limit, staff report and recommendation, no time limit. We have not been contacted by any third-party interveners. There'll be public comments for 3 minutes. The applicant may cross-examination. The party interveners may cross-examinations, which at this point we have none. Staff may cross-examination. Members of the decision-making body through the chair may ask questions of the staff applicant. Final arguments may be made by the applicant, party interveners, which we have none, or the staff. The city attorney will advise the decision-making body as to the applicable law and the factual findings that must be made to approve or deny the application. We'll have deliberations of the application. After deliberation, vote shall be taken to approve of conditions, continue, or deny the application. JP, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Board of Adjustment. My name is John Paul Perez with the Planning and Economic Development Department. The request before you tonight is a site plan approval for an approximately 950 square foot drive-through cafe at the property located 24717 West Newberry Road, just east of the United Methodist Church. The image on the screen now is a general location of the property within the city limits. On the screen now is an aerial image of the subject property showing you the boundaries and the adjacent roadways. West Newberry Road and that should be southwest 246 Terrace, where access will be provided. The current use of the property is a single-family dwelling unit. It's not occupied. I don't believe anyway. This property was rezoned and had the land use change this year, so it probably looks familiar, along with a few of the other properties along State Road 26. This was heard by the Planning and Zoning Board on September 6th. We're here now for Board of Adjustment approval for the site plan. And again, it's 950 square feet of drive-through you're approving today on the plan, as well as an about 3,000 square foot retail building. That's not part of the request. That will come later. And as one of the conditions, we're just advising them that they have to come with a separate development plan approval from this request. In addition, because there's a single-family residence on the property currently, there's a drive-through, there's a curb cut there on State Road 26 that will be going away, and the developer will be remediating that drive-through, so that'll go away entirely. I do understand there was some confusion about the application package. In the application is the original set of plans that were received. That original plan has been changed because of that State Road 26 connection. So that's attachment 1 of your package. Attachment 2 is the actual proposed site plan, and that will show you the connections of the ingress egress on southwest 246 Terrace. All right. So here is the proposed site plan on the screen currently. The green box is the drive-through building. It's a compact drive-through facility that does only that. Drive-through, nothing else. Go get some coffee and a muffin, and then you're on your way. The red is the future retail building. That is not part of this package, so there are no elevations for this building yet. That'll come in for future review. This is in the new Gateway Overlay District, so it'll have a higher level of design standards that'll be applied to the property. In the rear, you have all your stormwater management. Now, it is the desire of the board to have that stormwater in the front, but because there's an additional requirement for drive-throughs to be set back from residential properties by 100 feet. They had to front load that drive-through facility on the site. And so you have the orientation of the site as you see it before you now. Site development will occur as you're seeing it here, just minus that retail building, right? That should be a sodded plot of land. Here's an example of the one on 441. Should look familiar to you. That sign is superimposed on that image. It's not actually in that location, but you can expect something design-wise very similar. Kind of meets the aesthetics that I think the board was looking for: stone and wood, dark contrasting colors. Another image of that same existing Elianos. The design's remarkably similar to the one we'll be receiving. The only difference is if you could see above the sign on the building, on the red part, there's a parapet that's continuous across the front. On the design that was proposed for the city of Newberry, that parapet doesn't exist on the front of the building. There's a little bit of break, but it's a non-noticeable design difference between the two building types. And so here is the north elevation. So looking south onto the property from State Road 26, this is the elevation that you'll be seeing. Going through all the architectural notes, you see all the materials are identical. This is the west elevation. So as you're headed east on State Road 26 out of Newberry, this is the elevation you'll be seeing. The two elevations, east and west, were remarkably similar. Again, very similar materials. They will be locating the mechanical equipment on the roof. You can't see it, nor will you when the building gets built, because they'll be putting the parapet high enough to conceal it, so no mechanical equipment will be exposed. They loaded that ladder at the rear of the building, so also the service part of the building is facing away from the street. Here's the circulation plan. I superimposed some arrows on the traffic plan so you can see how cars will be moving about the site. Chris Potts, agent for the owner, has a presentation that'll come after mine. He'll show you some other site plans that Elianos have done. This is a tried and true site that they've used, and traffic circulation pattern that they've used. On the red at the north is where that existing curb cut is. That will be going away. Two points of ingress-egress, 2 drive-throughs that will be servicing both have escape lanes, as well as plenty of parking to serve both this use, which probably won't require much parking except for employees, as well as the future retail. So it'll be, for the future of the development, everything will be there. They just need to come in with the retail building. In addition, we are asking or suggesting a condition for cross-access. The property to the west was rezoned to commercial, and the land use was changed to commercial. And so eventually that property will be redeveloped. The idea is to have an internal street between the properties, so people aren't having to make maneuvers in and out of State Road 26 to allow better traffic flow on that state road, because we do know it gets pretty packed on that street in the mornings and in the afternoons. And so this will hopefully capture some of those trips from that, that arterial. The landscape plans do include some cabbage palms. Cabbage palms are a species that's listed on our tree ordinance. However, it is not a species that we regularly approve. Palms are not a particularly favored species of the Planning and Zoning Board, particularly Ms. Woodcock. She wasn't able to be present, but in honor of her service to the city and the Planning and Zoning Board, and I think the applicant's more than willing to honor the request of staff. No palm species. They'll be replacing them with ornamental or deciduous trees in those locations. Yeah. And so just a summary of the conditions: a stub-out connection to the western property that will provide cross-access, replace all palm species with deciduous or ornamental trees not of the palm species, revise the utility plan per utility comments, a very minor comment on them, and future phase retail building will require its own site and development plan approval. All these conditions have been incorporated into the resolution, and staff finds the request consistent with the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations Comprehensive Plan. Ooh, a little faster. And at the pleasure of the board, you may approve with conditions, or deny the resolution site plan application. That completes my presentation. The applicant has a presentation for the board as well. Thank you.
Good evening, board. Thank you. My name is Chris Potts. I'm the Director of Engineering for JV Pro. And thank you, John Paul, for your detailed presentation. We just have some additional information to add for clarity and just for, I know the plan board originally, when we went through with the rezoning process, had concerns about vehicular maneuverability with the drive-through. So just want to walk through that from a transportation engineering standpoint, as well as statistics from Elianos that they have gathered from all their different stores that they have. So as John Paul mentioned, our original proposed site plan had a connection to State Road 26, but through that permitting process with DOT would not allow it because it's too close to the intersection. So we had to remove that connection to the site. So our sole ingress and egress is to the east of the street to the east of us, which actually improves the stacking for the drive-through. So in our site plan, we did account for the future building and our parking requirements. So based on the LDRs, we required a minimum of 20 spaces, and we provide 26. So in the future, when that proposed building comes in, all the parking's taken care of, all the stormwater utilities. So really, it'll be a simpler site plan process as well as a building permit process. And we're in agreement with staff's conditions for the project. So we've actually extended the pavement to the western property line. As you can see, we have not submitted these plans back to the city addressing their conditions, but we have already addressed them internally. So you can see that we have a cross access to the western property line. And as John Paul mentioned, that will help hopefully alleviate some of the traffic coming on and off Newberry Road if those parcels to the west ever get developed. And from the Eliano standard, we do have actually more stacking than they typically see. Most, what they're seeing right now from vehicles in a drive-through, their average time is 2 minutes and 15 seconds per car to come in and leave. So that's actually fairly quick from when they're coming in and picking up their coffee. They also have dedicated drive-through lanes for those who make orders online. So a lot of those vehicles are not actually in the drive-through lane coming in to order their coffee and waiting for it to be made. A lot of them, so that's why they have dual drive-throughs. One's dedicated for online orders that people just come and go, and then the other is for people who make the order in person. So this is the one in Alachua. It's a little challenging to see, but there are 4 total vehicular stacking on both sides. As you can recall on ours, we have 4 on the online side, and then at least 5, if not more, on the in-person pickup side. The one in Alachua has 4 and 4. Another one in Lake City, which has 3 and 4. This is off of 90, just a little bit east of I-75. And then in Jacksonville, this is off Blanding Boulevard. It's right there in the center, and it actually only has 3. This is one of their earlier stores. What they have seen from their current statistics is that no more than 98% of the time they have more than 6 cars in each drive-through, and that's on their peak hours. So most of the time they see less. They see on an average of 4 vehicles waiting in their drive-through. And again, they've sort of started to perfect their process, so most vehicles are in the drive-through for less than 2.5 minutes. And so we just requested the board, as staff mentioned, and the Planning and Zoning Board, we request the board's approval, and we're here to answer any questions.
All right. Nothing else from the staff, I take it, you can have a recommendation for approval. There's no third-party intervener, public comment. Chris, you just got done, you don't wish to cross-examine yourself? Staff, you want to cross-examine again? Members of the decision-making body, do you have any questions?
I do. Originally, we were okay with the access coming off State Road 26, but now it's coming off the road, I believe that goes to Cedar Ridge?
Cedar Oaks,
Cedar Oaks, Cedar Ridge, whatever it is.
Cedar Estates.
What do the residents of that community think about all the extra traffic that's going to be on that road?
I can't speak for any outreach that may have been done by the applicant. I can say that we mailed, it was a duly noticed meeting, so residents within 400 feet received a mailed notice. The property also had signs placed on it. So if there were concerns, they weren't voiced by phone prior to the meeting. So I have no other comments. Doesn't
Mr.
Chair.
appear like the applicant did any outreach either.
I can tell you that first time we heard this, we had a resident show up at the P&Z meeting, express some concerns. After the changes that they've made, nobody showed up to the next P&Z meeting. Nobody showed up, here tonight, so, and it was duly noticed.
You would think they'd be more concerned about the location now compared to what it was.
Well, and I think the issue the first time was that FDOT still wouldn't give the access off of 26. So I think that they managed to accommodate some of those concerns with showing how the traffic would flow and they'd get people out. Because it was really the concern about people coming in, heading towards Gainesville, turning in and then backing up on Newberry Road, and then that backup then clogging up the road as they're coming out. So as long as everybody can get off of that road and in, I think that was what people were most concerned about.
And also, I believe this is one of the roads that was suggested for us to resurface. Is the applicant going to be doing any resurfacing on that road?
This request does not include any of the right-of-way work. This is solely improving within their property.
Okay, I'm not 100% sure I'm okay with this.
JP, they have to tie in the two intersections. That, you know, they
All right,
can't
so,
just simply
final
connect
ordinance
no
from
without
anyone?
addressing the asphalt. There's no,
The apron, right?
yeah, the acres, that's all.
So the,
We'll see
the,
about that.
you know, not quite where Monty is, but the concern I have is, that road that, Dr. Corrales Road and how 246 Terrace bumps up. And then you have to stop there and then you have to go, across, Dr. Corrales to a second stop sign. Not so much for cars as it is for like people walking or cyclists.
Right. It is a drive-through use that's going there, which is an auto-oriented use. Auto-oriented uses and pedestrian activity are typically not things that mix very well, so it is a very genuine concern. There aren't sidewalks there today. There aren't new sidewalks, I believe, proposed on this plan. There's no sidewalks proposed in that area. That is something that the board can consider. There are sidewalks along State Road 26, but that connection that would create that conflict has been removed. And there is what appears to be crosswalk across 246, Doc Corrales Drive.
Yeah, because there's a couple of, the reason I'm asking is there's a couple of cyclists that lives in the neighborhood, and that was
Gotcha.
one of their concerns that they expressed to me is, you know, driving, right, it's gonna be harder, it's hard right now as it sits, go
Yeah.
out there and then hit the bike lanes.
Yeah.
So not changing any plans or anything, but is there a way to include like a bike way behind? I mean, I'm just trying to weigh
Yeah.
options here.
As far as the
bikes just
connection,
Can't bikes just ride?
Can bikes just ride?
Yeah, they have to have a.
The bikes go the wrong way.
oh,
I guess you're asking, could they get
Cyclists.
back behind the building?
I'm trying to
Right.
avoid like the guy. He told me he almost gotten hit a couple times with the way it sits now because of
Okay.
how 246 come out, how Dr. Corrales comes out, and then with the two stop signs, and then getting to a bike lane and heading up, and then you have people that's also walking.
got you.
I mean, I would say, Mr. Chair, that it sounds to me like that concern and Commissioner Farns was concerned about repaving, that would fall on the city when we redevelop the road. We've never really asked the developer to come in and improve the road. If it's a dirt road, right, then we say, okay, you need to take it there. If the community wants sidewalks or bike lanes there, I think that would be on us when we redevelop the road, not necessarily on the developer to come in. The developer's already been pretty generous about paying to rezone land that's not his, those kinds of things.
I would say too, in regards to this, that this piece of property that if you look at, they've stepped out there, is that an easement through there that butts up to that? Or what is that green space at someone else's property? So they're already making the driveway very improved up to that road.
Right, there's a large amount of apron that they have to install there.
Is that city apron?
It is, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So there's some stormwater improvement that goes
Sure,
into that
but
as
I mean,
well.
they're already
Yeah.
going out, two big driveways.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell the detailed plan where that cuts into that thing, but, according to it, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it looks pretty good. And if DOT don't allow it, we should have never made it commercial, so.
Well, and
But the,
to remember, Mr. Chair, that the city's concept here is that those last two remaining residentials will eventually become
go out.
commercial, and we want connectivity between
Correct.
for all of it. So the applicant is really working with us to make that larger vision
Yeah.
possible when it comes, and that's why you're seeing some of what you're seeing.
To address Commissioner Maison, I'm a big bike ped advocate. I cycle myself, and when the time comes right for the city to do improvements there, we can look at, calming techniques and low-stress bike facilities that would, reduce conflict.
Thank you. Do they have a, I know it's a drive-through, but are the people able to go inside and sit down and,
No seating.
then why do we have so many parking lots out out
For the
there?
future, this building.
Oh, okay.
Retail shop, no store.
Correct.
Oh, I see now, okay. All right.
Commissioner Martin?
John Paul, when I saw this in the backup last week, my comment to the city manager was one was the ingress egress off 26, so that's been addressed. But talk to me about the necessity of these bypass lane, all that stuff. I use the word extra. They just seemed way too much. It just looked like just way too much pavement. It's necessary. And I didn't want the applicant to feel like they needed to do all this crap for my benefit or our benefit, because it just looks like a total waste of money.
I would not disagree with you. I'm going to defer to Chris.
So that's their typical MO for their building. So regardless of where these facilities go, is they always have drive-through lanes on both sides of the building with bypass. Just because sometimes you get into a situation where you need to get out of the drive-through and that's what the bypass lanes allow for. But this is their mode of operation. And so they're actually requesting the bypass lanes on both sides of the drive-through.
I appreciate that. I get claustrophobic in the drive-through line.
Yeah,
Once
really.
You're in.
You're there.
Sometimes I want out.
I mean, McDonald's manages to do it. Chick-fil-A everybody else manages to do it without it. So they certainly don't need it for my benefit. I don't, it just seemed like it total and complete overkill.
Well, one thing you gotta think about as well is
I'd rather than put the money out and pay $264 than these bypass lanes.
Chick-fil-A and McDonald's have a different mode of operations. As you see, Chick-fil-A actually has 3 drive-through lanes with a bypass. McDonald's technically has a bypass as well. But when you get around the building after the double order line, the bypass disappears. And most municipalities actually require a bypass for either emergency vehicles or someone stuck in the drive-through. As far as the amount of pavement goes with the landscaping and the development agreement that we've entered in with the city at the rezoning, a lot of that pavement you will actually not see from State Road 26.
How does the delivery truck get in and out?
The delivery truck can either enter on the north or the south entrance,
Yeah.
and then they deliver on off hours. So the drive-through lane will not be in use, so they can circle the building whichever side they elect.
So their customer base understands, hey, I go on this side if I pre-ordered and,
Correct. It's all digital now.
yeah. It's their money.
Is that it? Anyone else? Seeing none, city attorney will devise the decision-making body as to the applicable law and the factual findings.
It is substantial and competent evidence, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Any final deliberations? Seeing none? All in favor?
Do we have a motion?
Oh, get a motion?
Second it.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call?
You don't have a roll call. Is it roll call?
It's your meeting.
No, just all in favor.
Aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous.
All righty.
All righty. I got through this thing almost without the mess up on that one, so let's just keep rolling.
Let's do it again, let's do another roll.
We're gonna do another here real quick.
On the next one.
Absolutely.
Thanks, John.
No one else has came in. We have another public hearing for, City of Newberry. Mr. Attorney, will you read in the ordinance number 3?
Yes, sir. This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, serving as the Board of Adjustment of the City of Newberry, Florida, approving an application for site and development plan approval for approximately 500 square foot building in a commercial intensive zoning district pursuant to section 14.12 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, located in 310 Northwest 250th Street, tax parcel number 02041-000-000 on approximately 1.62 acres within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, repealing all resolutions in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2022-55 as read by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Sure.
The city clerk has already sworn everyone in. Any ex parte at this time?
Mr. Clark,
Commissioner Martin? Commissioner Farnsworth?
Talk to the mayor about it. No.
Okay. Commissioner Coleman?
No.
And I have none myself. JP, you got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, John Paul Perez with the Planning and Economic Development Department. The Resolution 2022-55 is proposed site plan approval for an approximately 500 square foot building to display and house the REO fire truck for the City of Newberry Fire Department at their location. This is just a general location map where you can see the location of the property. Again, it is the City of Newberry Fire Department that the building will be located on in the front lawn. Here's a image from the street from Google Street View of the property and the site where it will be located. This is looking southwest on US 41. And the zoning district is commercial intensive. The future land use is public. Again, it's a approximately 500 square foot building for storage and display of the fire truck. A lot of glass on this building, so it can be displayed properly. And this is a site plan showing the new asphalt, or not really asphalt, but paving that will be put in, so folks can approach it from the fire department driveway, as well as a sidewalk around the building. And some landscaping installed as well. Here's a floor plan of the building, showing, just the floor plan with the glazing and the walls and the access, and a workbench being located inside the building. So west elevation. This will be the elevation not facing US 41. As you can see on that elevation, that's where the access door is. And so the side facing. Oh.
This is public access or not?
Oh, great question. I don't know the answer to that. No.
Mr. Mayor, generally, no. generally knows, it's just like the fire station, is generally no, the public can get in, but this is intended to house this piece of apparatus, be a garage for things of that nature.
Yeah. Plenty of glazing though, so there'll be, and it's not a very large building, so the interaction will almost be seamless between the inside and outside if they were able to get in to view the truck. It's so much glazing that it's essentially like being in the building. This is the east elevation. This is the elevation that'll be facing US 41. This side is almost entirely glass, and so you'll have a very good view of the truck inside. This is the REO fire truck that will be cleaned up and placed inside the building and serviced regularly, so it doesn't break down during parades when carrying commissioners, I was told. Right, Mike New?
Correct.
Okay. Staff finds the request consistent with the City of Newberry land development regulations and comprehensive plan. At the pleasure of the board, you may approve with conditions, or deny the resolution. That completes my presentation. City is the applicant, so there's no other presentation. Do you have any questions for me?
The board, go ahead.
I only have an architectural comment about the elevation that faces the street. You have a split glass display there. It would seem to me, visually speaking, the truck's cut in half with that pillar in the middle.
Yeah.
And I would maybe look at reorienting the glass and getting more of the picture window across the whole thing instead of having that visual cut in the middle.
That is a addition, if it's financially feasible, that we can include in the motion, that structurally, it's possible.
Understood.
Yeah.
Headers, massive headers.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you could cut the two windows out on the ends. I mean, that truck is not, you know what I mean. I don't know,
Yeah.
we don't need to beat a horse. Anybody else? You want to be able to see as much as possible.
So, I mean, you got the different panes. Are you going to try to make it one solid pane, or kind of like the Williams Thomas Funeral Home display?
I'm not familiar with those funeral homes. There is like mullions involved in this window construction, so there'll be a series of 6 squares for each thing, but that'll be revised once we eliminate that central pillar. So,
JP,
yes.
those window units will come in as one unit that would be installed. It'll show as 6 panes of glass installed in one aluminum frame, and the block contractor will block out for that one frame. So if we wanted to eliminate like the horizontal piece, that's really just on the glass guy and the architect as to what they were thinking. I think to Tim's comment about the center column, that's more of a structural change, but we'll certainly have that conversation with the designer. But to Commissioner Farnsworth's point about, it won't be 6 individual frames. It'll actually be one frame with 6 panes in it.
Oh, okay.
The interior is almost looks like an insert.
Yes, sir. I mean, you want to be able to see if you're going to display it, you want to be able to see it.
Drive by on the road, and be able to look over and see the whole.
See the whole thing, right?
From the road.
Right.
That's the goal. I drive by, I see the whole thing from the road.
You bring the corners in, because you gotta have more vertical support to run that all the way across. Open that up. That's-
I don't know, 580 would be too big. It's literally just, big enough to park that in and see, 3 feet of glass around. That's, I don't even want to see any of the building. Just the glass. I just want to see the glass. So as I drive by, I see the building. So I'm seeing this as a display piece, not as a building. Right.
That's why I had to mention.
I see the, what'd you say, Williams Thomas Funeral Home as the model here.
I don't know where you could have display it up on a pedestal a little bit.
I mean, if we shrink the building and you raise the, right, just get it up a little bit higher, I mean, it doesn't need to be 8 feet in the air, right? Yeah, just a foot or two.
this now? Is that what I'm hearing? No, I'm kidding. Answering.
Behind the design.
Public comments? Huh?
We're okay, but we just need to have it brought back to us for.
It's a motion with conditions or declining, so this would theoretically be a motion with conditions, soft conditions.
All right, we'll consider
When
that
we
here.
get to
We'll
the
get
appropriate
that.
time, sir.
Okay, I appreciate that, Commissioner Martin.
Yes, sir, sir.
Public comments? Seeing none? We are the applicant, we are everybody right here, so we're gonna get on down to final arguments. Any more questions? None? City attorney, will you advise the decision-making body as to the applicable law and the factual findings?
Substantial and competent evidence, Mr. Chair.
And, we don't have any more deliberations on this, so we will get a motion to approve either with conditions. And, so can I get the motion to approve with conditions?
So moved.
We gotta get the conditions.
Conditions and, have the final plan brought forth for final approval.
Just want to provide a point of correction. This is the final approval, so what we walk out of here with today will be what we're going to be moving forward with permit. What we can do for a motion is a motion to approve with condition that staff explore feasibility of removing the center column on the east elevation. Does the board want it to come back if we can't remove that that center column from the east elevation?
Mr. Mayor, because this board is actually the owner, the site plan approval can have conditions. Mr. Manager, don't begin work on this without addressing the concerns that you heard here tonight. Bring it back to us and we'll approve the final architectural plans. Different, outside of the planning process, our formal planning processes, and we'd be glad to get with our architect and project manager and bring those things back. I would indicate to you that I hear what you say, raise the floor, I hear about decreased size. One of the problems that we have with the fire engine now is it's not well maintained because the building that it resides in is too tight. So staff request that we're able to enlarge the room enough for us to perform routine maintenance, keep it on a battery charger, have an air compressor somewhere so that we can keep the tires inflated. Nothing outrageous, but I feel like that one of the reasons it's fell into disrepair is that we don't have a good place to take care of it. That we can't, with all of our other equipment, we run it down to RPM and they take care of it. The REO, we can't just run down to RPM. The REO is going to be worked at on-site either by a specialized mechanic or by our trained staff.
I just built a 400 square foot workshop. Not much bigger than that. You gotta be able to get around it without banging into it or banging into the
Yeah,
walls.
they had other things to do, so we have a motion to approve with conditions, so let's just, this is internal. We know what we're talking about here. We're gonna.
We'll move forward.
We're gonna
Staff will
move
bring
forward with
back
it.
more
We
renderings.
have a
and-
motion, we'll
Exactly.
get the renderings, and we'll come back before the board. So the motion is to approve with conditions, which the manager knows and the staff knows. So can I get a second?
You guys, he's first.
Oh, he's the second. All in favor?
Aye.
I have everybody except Commissioner Cole,
not the time
to spend money on that
and, he's in dissent.
This little cross right here, that's my house. That cross is way over here, that church is way over here.
Okay, any other questions?
We can wait for Peggy to come.
The board is adjourned.